Today we're talking about 10 things they don't tell you about C-sections. If you have not seen my videos before, my name is Anna. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button down below. Number one is that you will most likely be awake during surgery, although not always. There are cases in which they have to put you all the way under, but of course, if you are awake, they will make sure to numb you all the way so that you don't feel a thing. Number two is how much they move your body during surgery. As I mentioned before, they do make sure that you are completely numb down there, but even though you can't feel pain, you do feel them touching you, and of course you can feel them shaking your body. I remember feeling like my whole body was shaking so hard I thought I would fall off the table. It's a lot of movement. It definitely surprised me, not something anyone had ever talked to me about before. Number three is the size of the cut. I, for some reason, had imagined that the cut would be bigger than it was, and also that it would appear really, I don't know, damaged. I'm one of those people that really likes watching like surgery shows, and you always see like the post-op appointments where the body is like really bruised and the cut looks really like crazy, like with all these like stitches, sometimes staples, and for some reason I had that in my head and I thought that that's what my incision would look like after surgery, and it wasn't at all. It actually looked really nice. I couldn't visually see any stitches, although I know that there were stitches there, but on the outside they basically just used like an adhesive, and then there was just little tiny pieces of tape, and the incision was probably like this long. It's really small in comparison to what I mean, I don't know why they would cut you all the way across, but like, I don't know, I thought that would be bigger. Number four is one that I learned pretty shortly after I came home from the hospital after my own C-section, because I thought it would be a great idea to look up what a real life C-section surgery looked like. Might have not been the best idea to do immediately after I just had one, but I wanted to see what it looked like, and it was actually really interesting because I found out that a lot of the cutting that they do is actually done with their fingers. I have since learned that a lot of it is done with their fingers because they want to make sure that they are very precise and that they are not accidentally cutting into your bladder or cutting into your baby. So they do make, of course, initial incisions with their, what is that called? Scalpel? I couldn't think of the word. And then they go in with their fingers and actually rip a lot of the skin and the tissues, and that is how a lot of the cut is made. Also, I found out that because things are ripped more naturally, they actually heal better. So yeah, win-win. Number five is just because you had one C-section does not mean that you have to keep having C-sections after that. This myth has been going around for way too long. People say once a C-section, always a C-section. That is not true. There is something called a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after C-section. There is, of course, certain cases in which there is something, some underlying health condition of the mother that would make it so that she has to have C-sections, but that is not always the case. In fact, trying a vaginal birth after a C-section is most often safer than having another C-section. Number six is probably the most surprising one of all, or at least it was for me, and that is how fast a C-section is. I don't know, again, why I thought in my head that a C-section would take a long time, that it's a surgery and that it would have to be very carefully done and that it would take a long time. I went into surgery expecting to wait at least a good 20, 30, 40 minutes to meet my baby, but that was not the case at all. I swear, they asked me if I could feel anything, and then they told me, hey, okay, we're gonna start, cutting in, and not even 3 minutes later, I heard my baby cry, and I saw them lift my baby up in the air, and he was out. And then after that, it really only took another maybe 15 minutes for them to suture me up. It could have been just a little bit longer than that, but I think that all in all, the surgery was less than 30 minutes from start to finish. It was so fast. I was not expecting to hear my baby cry immediately after they started cutting me, but that was definitely a wonderful surprise and not something people told me about before. Number seven is the swelling. Holy moly, Nobody told me about the swelling. Because it is a surgery, they are pumping you full of fluids, and that causes your body to swell. And it wasn't swelling around the incision, it was swelling around my entire body. I remember making the joke to my husband that I walked in the hospital a skinny pregnant girl and walked out a fat mom. Because I was so swollen everywhere. My feet and my hands and everything was just completely swollen, and it is hilarious to think about now, but it definitely freaked me out then. Number 8 is that you will most likely have a catheter and leg compressors for a pretty long time after surgery. I mean, not days on end, but definitely at least the first 12 hours after surgery. You, of course, are pretty numb all the way down there, and it takes a while for the medicine to completely wear off. And since you are not able to get up and move around, the leg compressors will make sure that you do not get any blood clots, and then the catheter, of course, just assures that you don't have to get up to pee. Number 9, unfortunately for me, I know that this is not the case for everybody, so I'm not trying to scare you, but in my case, the recovery was very long and very painful. Of course, the incision is through your skin and through your abdominal muscles and into your uterus, and there's a lot that needs to heal, and you don't realize how much you actually use your abs until they have been cut through. And the recovery was very long and very painful for me. I have a friend of mine who actually told me her recovery from a C-section was super easy. She was up and walking around within a couple days, and she said that she would do it all over again in a second. For me, that was not the case. It took a really long time. Again, I'm not trying to scare you, but it is important to be prepared for these sort of things. People don't tell you. Sometimes they don't tell you the bad things or the scary things that can happen, and so you go into it blissfully unaware, which is great, but also not so great to not be able to prepare for those sort of things. It does hurt, and it takes a long time, and not necessarily for everybody, but for me it was a long time. It can happen to you too. Just prepare and, you know, be aware and know that it's going to heal and it's going to get better, even if it doesn't always feel like it. And number 10 goes along with number 9, and that is that you will need help, whether your recovery ends up being really long like mine, or even if it's not that long. For the first few days, you will need help. Someone that can come help you with the house, or your older children, or to bring you food. Just make sure that you are preparing for someone to come and help you, because it is very necessary. And that is it. That is everything that I wanted to share with you guys about C-sections that people don't usually tell you about. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up down below. Also, make sure that you comment and let me know if you have any questions, and subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we post next, and we will see you next time. Bye.